In this video, I'm going to respond to a question about Israel, Damascus. In Isaiah, there is a prediction of something to come. And you know what? I want to talk about that in this video, but I'm going to tell you right up front, I'm going to pull back from that. I need to talk about what I am specifically doing that is different than this is a good time to probably readdress some things. I find 3 layers in the material, and the deepest layer is the template layer. That's all I work on. The first layer is literal. You don't interpret it at all. You just read it straight up and say, that's what it means right there. That's literal. You can interpret it, though, and say, no, it's a metaphoric verse that means something else. I'm supposed to figure it out and figure out how it helps my life. Then you begin to mentally manipulate the verse to say, I think it means this, or I think it means that. And when that is happening in the physical world, and the idea is that I'm trying to figure out what this means to me in my supernatural realm, that's layer 2 that I don't go to. That is where the masses reside. All right, let me show you what I do. I'm going to go to what I call God mode. And I'm going to, actually, let me caveat this. My name is Dan Paulson, everybody just jumping in here. Let me back up a couple of things. If you've come here with a religious idea that this material needs to be interpreted in such a way that there is a God or Allah or something like that, I'm not there, and I won't do that. I will not do that. That is the carrier case that nobody knows is the carrier case. Okay, I will not focus on that. Mentally, this is different. This might piss people off, but I look at it like this. It would be like if I'm trying to figure out geography and I'm trying to figure out this mountain range, and somebody's a flat earther coming over here yelling at me, and I go give this person attention arguing about that without looking at the mountain. That's what this is like for me. If I talk to people about the validity of the supernatural, I'm not looking for the template. I don't want to do that. I'm not an atheist. I am a seeker of truth. I do not deny the existence of God, but I interact with what I can interact with. I don't sit back and go, I'm going to wait for this to happen. There is something deeper in here. As far as predictions being in the Bible, I'm going to tell you a couple of things. All material can do that. I can do that. You can do that. We can make predictions about what's going to happen in the future. How do we know that? Because there's a cycle of life and we're all going through it. People that can recognize that sit back and go, yeah, we're tribal, we're killing, we're going to do all these things. People are going to figure it out. There's going to be people in the future that emerge that have this solved because it comes up from time to time, but most people won't ever get it. All of those are parts that I see in there. Okay, now, if you need creation to be a reality, I don't even want to talk to you. That is just insane. This cosmos is so big and so old. To not take that into consideration that's the flat earther again. Go away. That's the denial of reality so severe. I'm open-minded, but I look for evidence. There is no evidence of a young earth. There is complete evidence of billions of years old Earth. We can see that. I don't give a damn what a book tells me that is on the same template that Hinduism is in Greek myth. The outer story is the outer story. It is not true. It is not real. Can they predict something? Yeah. Just look at what's happening now, and it's going to happen again in the future. The Earth is going to end someday. The sun is going to be a red dwarf one day, and there will be no atmosphere left on Earth. This planet, life is temporary here, no matter what. People that think, oh, it's a stepping stone and everything is going to be fine beyond this, they're not looking at what we're standing on. They're not looking at reality. Go to God mode. Step back, look at the planet, look at the cosmos that's been here for billions of years, and look at planet Earth. Dinosaurs, billions of years going by, things are emerging and dying off, and stuff is happening, and eventually humans are around. Now, I will tell you what I can see at this point. I have looked at it enough to realize and stood back enough to realize that at some point in time, society really boomed. Humanity emerged. Once they grasped how to manage crops and animals, boy, that was a turning point within hundreds, thousands of years. We don't know the turnaround point. We know at some point in time, though, Sumerian and Babylonian culture appears at once looking incredibly primitive and at the same time incredibly advanced. And you're like, what the heck? Where did that come from? And so it must have been going on for a while. You realize this has been going on. I can see in Gilgamesh shades of the template emerging there. But I can see that this teaching is beginning to emerge in Babylonian works and in Hindu works and in Egyptian works and in Jewish works in Genesis, but that it begins to get stronger, the whole myth, the whole story, the whole structure of it. Around the time Greeks and Exodus are being written, that this whole story structure is getting something that is more strong. It's growing and it's developing. And by the time it gets down to Jesus, it's doing the same thing. But I can see that flow, and I could see that it was necessary with different people that were cultures from different places needing to have some kind of control put in place. Greeks, they had a good control over their population. They didn't need to put religion in there to do it. Jewish, obviously, they got stories about stoning women, non-virgin wives on their father's doorstep on their wedding night. So they're obviously living a different lifestyle. They've got something else going on. This entire structure, which is still holding the template, is nevertheless a belief system that if somebody has in this culture of really word-of-mouth, non-technology culture, your world is very small. Your awareness is very small. This story would be incredibly big, and it would provide a lot of things to the culture. It would provide some sort of hope, some sort of guidance, rules to follow. But it's also it's doing this by basing some things in fear and putting controls and guidelines and some kind of, it makes the person feel special. It jumps over the ego line and it creates a problem at a certain level where people think themselves above others. But people do that anyway, so it hooks right into that. You can actually observe a modification in Abrahamic religion from Judaism to Christianity. Most people are aware of the idea that the gods sound a little bit different. The Jewish God he was a mean, angry kind of God. We come along down here to the New Testament and, wow, God's really softened his stance. Do you know what's in the background? Fear. There was no first sin in Judaism. There was no hell for not believing. So God was the one that you had to fear. You get down to Christianity, what do? They take the fear away from God, but they put it in first sin. They snuck it right in there. Don't let them fool you. It's right there. We're not looking at different things. We're just looking at it in different ways. When you stand back far enough, you can see that is what has happened, and all those religions are just those. Local variations of belief systems that help a tribe, yet the template is in there. That if any of them anywhere turned inward, the Muslim, the Christian, the Hindu, would all agree with each other and they would cease being dividers. But that universe was there all along. And everything emerges from that universe. It's moving in waves, it's cycling, stuff that there's cause and effect. All of these are universal laws that we're going to be functioning within that are in the material. The cause and effect, the cycles. They're right there in the beginning of the material. Predictions? Yeah, I can predict America's going to collapse. I can predict any country that ever rises to the top collapses, that people are going to fight, that they're going to kill each other, that they're going to go to wars, that they're going to be tribal. I can predict that. Why? Because it never changes. It's been going on that way forever. We just don't look at it. And we change history to ignore it. And we change history to put ourselves on top above everybody else. You step out here in God and look at planet Earth and go, all those humans are a bunch of tribal idiots trying to rise above each other. That's what I see. And they've got all manner of excuses. And whatever one they believe in just depends on where they came from. It depends on what egg they came from and what woman was carrying it. That is where they come from, and that's where their belief comes from. What a bunch of idiots down there fighting and killing each other over that stuff. They can't figure out that they are simply products of their environment. And if you were to study previous material from Babylonia, the Enuma Elish, the creation story, as everything is being recreated, as your world, as your inner being is being recreated, and your old self is being destroyed, and you're building a new self, they're carrying that in a way to where people are making bricks and mud and creating They were creating the ziggurats. They had a large group of people. Imagine building pyramids or things like that. You got a bunch of people. You need to do something with all of a sudden. You got food, you got resources. What are you going to do? There's millions, thousands of people out here that don't have jobs. We make things. What do we have? Bricks and rocks. We put people to work with bricks and rocks. And we're doing something. We're creating something to give glory to create. It's a good thing for the population. Jews come along and say, oh yeah, these guys were trying to build a tower to God. And yeah, they're feeding off of each other and destroying each other. That's pretty common when you read them all and see them all. Why does your religion tell you to not study other stuff? How about a better example? Joshua, Jericho. People go, well, that's a funny story. It was full of evil. They went and they marched around it and 7 times, blew trumpets, did a variety of things that came collapse down, and you go, that's kind of crazy. Then archaeological evidence later finds a destroyed city called Jericho, and they go, look it. That proves it right there. It happened. People writing stories going, okay, we need the destruction of something to hold this part of the story in there. Jericho's been destroyed. Let's just tell everybody we marched around it 7 times and God helped us destroy it. Boom, there, Jericho is down. People in their culture locally are, within a couple of years are going, oh, yeah, they don't have our exposure. They don't have radio, network, nothing. They only pass along things word of mouth and what they can see and what they hear. And if you keep reading through the Bible stories, you will find that 7 is always there at the beginning of a destruction of something or one of the elements that is there. 7 means pure. You're destroying what is in the way. There's a reason these stories are... The way they sound the way that they do work in the culture, but they're written at that time. It doesn't mean that they happened. They're elements that are used in their range to build stories on the template. Anytime anybody in that culture says, whew, I found the way in, this template plays out in my psyche, they find the way out. Most people aren't going to do it, but the way out is there all the time in the template. We have too many biases to see what's going on, but also, well, anyway, okay. Does that answer the question? I know there was some things going on in the analog term. Yeah, that's one. I don't mean electronics analog, or analog digital, something like that. We might try to consider a different term than analog. It's like representative of this thing represents me. If I were to say I myself mentally am holding on to an experience so severely that I can't let go of, that it continually cycles around me and I need to pass that along. So instead of saying it like that, because people don't want to connect with it like that. It's too personal. We're going to put it in something that is less personal so that it's comfortable to pass it around. But the person that knows how to unravel the personal nature of it will pull it out of there. Then you could say that anchored ship cannot sail, which is the ship now becomes an analog or a representation of you yourself, and the anchor becomes an analog or a representation of what you are hanging on to. When I say analogs, that's it. They're just taking something that is happening in their culture. It's got to fit the hierarchy. I've talked about that in my other videos, but all the stories are built on this structure that there is a higher self. This is one that can be emotionally detached from our life experience. Then the conscious itself, the one that's had all of the experience, judged those experiences and stored them based on the nature of the emotional state of them. And those are now stored away with that emotional state, but they're also continuing to play out in the background. The consciousness experiences life. It also experiences the past. The subconscious stores those experiences. That's what is being built as we move along. Honestly, the structure of who we are, or all of the things that we have stored inside of us, become what they're just calling that the Eve. That is something that is our inner being that begins to accumulate these things, and they call it sin, and because of that, you lose happiness. Those are all analogs, and if we read them literally, we never find the personal interactive steps in them. The theist, the person that believes the stories to be true, they are the carriers of the story. The atheist will deny it. They don't carry it. They help it stay in the forefront. But neither one of them understands it. The theist that doesn't see the template is a carrier of the template based on the belief. And the belief is what they're carrying it in. I must extract it from the belief in order to find the template, which is then goes into interactive steps. Although I do see things in the material that look like digital. That's what got my attention. It looked like I was seeing, Even that T structure looks like like it could be an AND gate or something. This and this equals this. I don't know. I haven't quite got that figured out, but there's things happening in there that somehow link in my head to my electronics background. So and therefore, which shows up, I see those and go, so therefore, if then, cause and effect. Yeah, you begin to see that stuff in the verbiage. Yeah, there's something structured in there, and there is. And you know what? I went after it. I found it. It's a human life template, carried in material that is designed to help the masses live their lives, which is fine until a certain point happens. The material is no longer any good anymore because what is happening in the background is no longer about the material. It's about an evolving species overcrowding, survival of the fittest. We're running out of space, resources. What do? We demonize you and survive. That's what's happening. It almost seems to me like for some people, it is used as a circumvention to experience one's own feelings. I'm not killing humans. With God's help, we're killing demons. Yeah. Boy, bad stuff is looming all over the planet right now. It's coming to a head. I think our biggest concerns right now should be having some spare food put away, some water stash, get yourself a water filter and a steri pen or something like that. Some of the, muddy. Yeah. Yeah. That's a horrific thing to think about. We're living in some very turbulent times, trying to figure it out. And these religions are screwing people's capacity to see reality. At the same time, they're helping people that need it. So you put it in a story. Wash the inside of your cup, because the one who made the outside also made the inside. They're putting it in cryptic ways. They're teaching you to heal yourself. When it gets bigger and it starts becoming now the enemy, we must destroy them. That's the same as Greek myth, except instead of them saying, oh, we're going to create hydras and ogres and things like that, we're just going to use the Philistines and the Palestinians and whoever is our enemy in our culture. We're just going to write them into the story, and that's how it works in our culture, so that's how it continues. People get told what their enemy is, and they create those, and we live in that way. We're not working together, and religions are not doing a damn thing to help. Not the Abrahamic ones. Religion's a tough term. I don't agree. I don't like the term religion. I use it a lot, and then I go, oops, Taoism, Buddhism are in there too. And without going into a lot of detail, I'll just say that Taoism and Buddhism are very close to the template. They both reside very close. They still have you turn inward. They still put it into analogs, wheels turning and things like that. You have to figure it out. But it doesn't, there's a higher being. There's things that are parts of this. We're looking for a Buddha nature. We're looking for inner peace. We're looking to emerge. It tells us that. If you go to something like Christianity, for example, that we're familiar with, it will tell you to look outward, to relinquish, to turn outward, to feel that. To be honest, I see it this way. Buddhism, for example, you're seeking nirvana. Nirvana is a state of being of, I've let all that stuff go. I feel good. I'm not connected to all of my issues. I feel inner peace. That is what nirvana is. You go to Christianity, and if it's on the same template, what are they using instead of nirvana? The kingdom of heaven within is said, maybe one time perhaps somewhere in the Bible. Usually it's just the kingdom of heaven or the kingdom of God or something like that. Reference to still a state of being up here. God is the higher being, and the realm, the whole place, is where our consciousness resides. However, it is put in such a way that instead of saying, this is your mind, it's said as, after you die, you will be able to achieve this. And let me clarify that. I say things in very harsh ways sometimes. The idea is, when you turn in for Buddhism or Taoism, it is to find what hurts you and to let it go. In Christianity, the idea is to turn yourself and your inner being over to the love of God, knowing in this lifetime that all of that hurt that you're carrying, you can rest assured and feel comfortable with the idea that after you die, then it will, something else is going on. You're still living with the pain. You're just adding some comfort on top of it. Where in Taoism and Buddhism, they're telling you right away to just go remove the pain. and that'll happen naturally. Now, if you take the Christian material and turn it inward, it'll get you to the same place that Taoism and Buddhism gets you. But as a carrying case, it convinces people to hold on to it and that there is a supernatural beyond. That is so different. Find the template. Don't wait. This is about now. If there's something beyond here, that's an evolutionary step, not a magical one. We need to figure out what's real, not what we wish because it makes us feel better. The truth does suck and ignorance is bliss. And the shit that's happening in the world is the stuff that's been happening forever. Evil rulers wiping out people. Then history goes on and we forget about it. And then it comes again. And people go, look, this was predicted. Yeah. All right. For all of that, I need to add something in. I've gotten incredible confidence with this because of one reason. Because I determined that it seemed like it was something that played out in the psyche, and I had a lot of hurt that I was bringing with me in my life, I went ahead and interacted with it. I was abused as a child. I was, physically and mentally abused. As a 9-year-old, I cut my brother out of the tree, who was an 11-year-old. He had hung himself to try and escape the abuse because he learned about heaven in Sunday school that day and he wanted to go. I ended up running away from home as a teen and living on the streets for a while, eating out of garbage cans, getting taken off the streets, molested. My life started out very bad. At some point in time, I was in deep trouble in life. And I look at myself and go, I was not a bad kid. I was a product of my childhood experiences. And that made it not okay. And in this material, I'm finding ways of, crossing the threshold, turning in, looking at myself, using my higher being to look at my hurt self and go, you know what? Stop ignoring this stuff. Start looking at it. Start healing. And eventually, at some point in time, I go, yeah, this is it. It's self-healing. I feel okay now. My life is good. I changed life by interacting with the template. It changed my life from one of, I don't think I have a chance, to, I think I found the answer. I had to take that path. But in taking that path and in getting someplace, I can say, you know what? You can't tell me what I have or don't have. I can demonstrate what this is, and you can interact with this. There's no promises of supernatural anything. It is right here, right now. You look at it, you see it, you do it. That's what it is. I hope this is going to be a little bit different tone than my normal stuff. This is not teaching. This is kind of like getting into the, hey, I don't want to talk about the viability of spiritual, of supernatural anything. I'm picking out the science that's in this material, and I'm picking it out of that nasty supernatural case that it's in. How does that sound? Arrogant? It's not. It's just what I see. It's like I'm tired of it. I have had what would be called supernatural experiences before I went out and found my brother. He was alone. As I was leaving the house, I heard Larry's dead in my head. There's a connection before I found him, and I found him. So I've had experiences that have had to be explained. But I look at this universe and everything that's going on and say, you know what, everything, it just makes sense to me that within this structure of things happening and the way that things can emerge and the way things flow within energy and matter and the way entropy is working within the cosmos, supernatural cannot exist, which means if there are spirits, ghosts, angels, demons, gods, anything like that, then they are natural. They're not supernatural. Calling them supernatural is putting them out of your reach. I'm not going to do that. That's accepting them without finding them. I want to find them. I'm not going to claim them as real until I do. Flat earthers, supernaturalists, people that just have all of these claims where there's nothing you can say, nothing you can do, you can't interact with it. You get to the template in here and you go, oh, this is what happened to me. Here is how I turn inward. Here's how I fix it. This is the enemy that I'm defeating. But it's carried in ways culturally different that works for a big, massive people that can't figure it out but need some guidance. I'm not that. I'm not. I step back. I can go to God mode all the time now and see, whew, I'm just a product of one egg and a sperm. That egg had to be there. If it was a different sperm, I would have been a different person, but I would still be me. If that egg wasn't there, I would never exist. One egg, one woman, one place, one time. I didn't pick that. It's an accident. I get that. I wish everybody did. We evolved. We're done. Can we work together? No, we need to kill each other off because we're still wanting to evolve. How many reproducing frogs in the 100-gallon terrarium can live with it sealed in there before they're all dead and it's just a gooey mass in there? That's going to be us. I laugh about that, but it's not fun, Anyway, all right, yeah, on my channel, it's not religious. It is science. It is based in what is happening in the cosmos, and whoever put the template in there knew that. And they also knew that reality template was not going to be popular in the population, so they put it in something that would make people feel better. Ooh. They don't need the truth. Just let them feel better. Yeah. Step back far enough, you see it. Anyway, okay. I do thank you for the comment. This is an area I'm not talking in this tone in any other way than to say this is a very fine line I've got right here. I don't have many people that come on the channel at all. A few people have come on and hit me with religious stuff right off the bat, and you know what I do? They're gone. I won't even deal with it. It would be like somebody sitting there that's just like I said, a geologist and a flat earther, somebody throwing stuff at you all the time. It's like a pest. It's ignorance. You go, let's come up with our own analogies. Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's my personal astrophysicist. Do you know him? Okay. It would be like taking somebody like him and he's in charge of the class, but somebody comes in and they're doing the flat earth thing at him. How much time should he devote towards addressing this person over here when that person should just be told, get out, shut up. We're trying to solve a problem over here that you can't even see, and you're taking up time. That's how it is for me. Yeah, you got to get through the case. I found my way through. It is repetitive, and you know what? As far as material, I've read the Bible. You can tell that, huh? What have I got back there? I've got multiple Bibles, multiple versions of it. The NRSV is the one I use. Plus, I like my red letter edition to find Jesus material when I'm looking. Just quick to pick it out of the material, the red letter edition. I've got 2 Qurans. I've got the Kabbalion. I've got the entire Mahabharata. All the Hindu works. Buddha, Taoist, Greek myth. You find this everywhere. It is one template that is so common but so hidden. We have to understand today we lost it. Technology took our minds away from the capacity to see this. Some of the commonalities pop up as much as like Moses when he's on Mount Horeb and God is talking to him through the burning bush and telling him, you will lead my people. And he's telling him, I can't do it. I don't quite speak right. Need Aaron, things like that. And God is telling him, don't worry, it'll happen when you get there. But he's telling him, I don't have the right speaking capacity to do your work. What happens to Muhammad? He learns from the prophets in the cave what to do, and Allah gives him the Quran to speak, but he tries to deny it and say, I can't do it because I don't have the education, I don't have the capacity to speak or anything like that in the proper way. And he's told that God will touch his lips at the time that it's necessary to do it. These elements are there. Jesus is going to say something like, don't worry about what you have to say until it's time to say it, and then it'll be given to you. That you begin to see commonalities emerging through there that you go, yeah, I see something different in there. People that are just reading the words don't see them. You have to be able to look back and see something more conceptually in them before you begin seeing that they're based in the same thing. And you know what? I want to make another comment. This is just offhand. It's on apocalypticism. I think that it probably should fit in with this conversation. There is this idea that the end is near, and there's certain signs that are in place that is creating that. So we're looking for the end times. Meanwhile, what they're doing is just having cycles going over and over again, saying the end times are near. Was Jesus an apocalypticist? Bart Ehrman would tell you yes. I would say no, because Bart Ehrman is not interpreting the material. They're looking at it on that supernatural level. The return of Christ happens whenever somebody heals themselves, whenever they find their Buddha nature, their Christ nature. It's a self-healing process right there. So the end is always near through the cycles anytime somebody stops worshiping Jesus and starts doing what he says. But you have to interpret what he says. Boy, all you need is the Sermon on the Plain or the Sermon on the Mount. That's it. You get the complete teaching out of those two. The rest of the stories are the carrier case, the ark. When you interpret, you must always use the same process. They interpret in your mind. You turn inward with them. Blessed are the poor. Blessed are the poor in spirit, which is correct. They're both correct. You turn them inward. Blessed is the poor. What is, okay, blessed is going to be good, is the poor. Poor, what is poor in this case? If it's in the psyche, it's not, it has nothing to do with monetary situation. It has to do with the quality of what you're holding up here. And being rich and full of things is not a good idea in the spiritual realm. Being poor, being empty, being devoid of. That doesn't mean being devoid of happiness, joy, life, all those sort of things. It means being devoid of all of the things that we use to judge life that takes us off course and keeps us from being free. Do you know this Jesus saying? For many are called and few are chosen, and many are the ways looking outward to destruction. There's only one way inward. This is entering the narrow gate, entering in, crossing the threshold, turning inward. All of that is there held in the exact same template, but in just different analogous verbiage. That's that analog term right there. What did they have to work with? Words only. It fits in that. It fits in there. Puzzles, structures. Here's another example. Aesop's fables. The tortoise and the hare. We know that story. The hare was very cocky, told the tortoise, I can beat you. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but they decided to have a race, and the fox was going to watch them, and they have the race, and they take off, and of course the hare is way off in front ahead, and he's so far ahead, he's like, I'm going to take a nap and wait, and as he's sleeping, the tortoise slowly walks by, and the hare wakes up at the last minute and goes, oh no, I'm going to lose, and gets up and takes off, but it's too late. He let the tortoise win. And then we're told that the moral of the story is slow and steady wins the race, that there's something nested in that story. That's layer 3 right there. A fable is like a puzzle as well, a verbal puzzle, except that in the style of it, it uses like anthropomorphized like brooms and trees, and it uses animals and things like that, inanimate and animate, non-human. There's humans in there, but there's, anyway. So that's how a fable works. But there's something nested in the verbiage. There's some kind of a lesson in there you're supposed to glean. The religious material is exactly the same, except that it very specifically addresses the soul, the heart, the mind, honestly. The things that we are holding on to. We live through our memories and our mental perceptions in life, and what we decide to do within our experience envelope, our box. Our capacity to make choices comes from our exposure to life. If somebody were to argue that the reason that actually the tortoise kept his eyes on God was the real reason, or that the hare was a sinner, didn't keep his eyes on something like that, and they're arguing that that's the real case, so that would be a theist. And then someone else will come along as an atheist and say, no, that's not possible. That it couldn't have happened. It couldn't have happened. It's a little bit different correlation, but it's like a theist is going to say it's supernatural. God did it. An atheist is going to say that's not possible. No way. Someone like me is going to come along like the Buddha, look for a middle path and go, I'm not making any commitments until I learn something, until I see for myself. I'm not going to let somebody else tell me what to commit to. I do that on my own. But that's a brain type that the masses don't share. You hear listening to this, you like it, you like the sounds of it, you got the right brain type. Anyway, all right. So I wanted to go there. I know we got started on another channel. There's something going on there. People start talking. There's another thing about the mind of a seeker. I've noticed this. I realize it later. There's been things that along life I've caught a lot of things that people would say, "How did you figure that out?" And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how I knew they were BS. I don't know how I don't know. I now know that because of that brain type, there's something else that happens is that logical fallacies don't work. And religion and the religious people, they got 20, 30 different logical fallacies. I believe religion itself, a supernatural religion, Abrahamic religion, is a logical fallacy. Well, no, it's only a logical fallacy if you try to tell people it's true and that it's, that there's proof. Then it becomes a logical fallacy. If somebody says, I believe it and I have faith in it, that's not a logical fallacy. If somebody says it's true, you better believe it, God says so, then suddenly, yeah, you're just, you can't question that yet. You can't prove that. You can't show that. You're just saying stuff. At some point, yeah, when people are saying things to you that are like, well, so-and-so believes this, and you're thinking to yourself, so, first of all, they're not here. Second of all, I've not studied them. Third of all, I trust that you have some sort of an agenda and you're trying to utilize something as weight that I don't recognize as weight. It's phony. If that's what you're bringing to the table as an argument, it doesn't look like you have something. I'm going to suggest that I know at this point that that's a brain type, that I know many, many people that will just bite into those logical fallacies. Einstein believed in God. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Or no, he didn't. Or something. It's like, the God of Spinoza, he didn't research it. Don't use, those are logical fallacies. Your arguments should be what you have right here, right now. What can I show you? What can I demonstrate? If my demonstration is this says it, that says it, this says it, supernatural, you got to believe it. It couldn't have any other way. Those are all logical fallacies, every one of them. So you just sit there in your head is like, it doesn't go through. It doesn't impact you. And that's a natural process. It's not because you've learned the difference. It's just because you recognize that I don't see what you're telling me. You're telling me to believe something that I can't see. Your brain needs to see it. That's why it doesn't work. Not because you know logical fallacies, but because, honestly, you can reason it through into that same evolutionary window and the differences in personality types in that large group again. There are people who don't question, and you don't want them to. You want them to respond. But in a group, their best interest is at heart. Out here, it no longer is. There's something else going on. The person that is on the outside is not going to listen to the group about what reality is because they already know, you don't see it. I'm out here. I got the big picture. So there's this mental disconnect that you are born with. When people say, how did you know that? And you're like, I don't know. That's why. What do I think? I'm not following what somebody else is doing. What do I think? What do I see? That's a different person. It really is. That's all you can say about it. I do want to say along with that, another part of conversation technique that always alerts me to something going on is that, like what happened with us, is that you never told me where you were coming from. You just start asking very pointed, direct questions and are incredibly evasive about where you're coming from, which tells me instantly you're looking for a place to shoot. You're throwing out a hook and you're trying to bait me. I spot that right off the bat. It's bullshit. Yeah, that's how things set up like that. If you want to converse with me, you got to let me know where you're coming from, what your interest is. You got to be upfront with me. You got to be open. If you come right at me and I can see you're not open, but you want to target things, that's not going to work. We're not all the same. We're not born the same. We're born with different brain types, and that would have been necessary in a tribe evolving to have different kinds of people. We're not all going to be the same. We wouldn't make it. We're too fragile. You need a main group of people that's going to create babies, hunt, gather food, take care of things. You got the alpha males, alphas and betas taking care of things, females as well, and the groups taking care of things. Then you got us introverts. Here's where we come in. We're the ones that can't stand it inside because it's too crazy and people are, they're not even paying attention. They don't care. We get run out to the outside of the group. We can't go far because we still need the group, but we can't stand inside the group. So we become like the first line of outer perimeter defense by natural selection. You are now on the outer edge, hyper vigilant because you're the first person going to get eat. You see more than anybody while they're all laughing and joking and, hey, where'd you get that root? Hey, where'd you get those pants? What kind of tires on that car? We're out here going, oh my God, I can't take it. What the hell? I also, and this is just speculation, I'm not a researcher or anything like that, but it seems to me like that larger, bigger group has a propensity to higher levels of fear and higher levels of believing in something that is not real. And that the people that are, the ones that are like more on the outskirts, not only are you more sensitive and can see more, but it's incumbent upon you to be more accurate. You're still going to do the same thing. You're still erring on the side of conservative, but you need to let the group know what to do and which direction to go and things like that. You need to have more details than them. Their job is just to, quick, run, go, grab the kids. Your job is to tell them that way, here it is, something like that. You have to have, anyway, I just kind of see that as something that's happening because I wonder what are other differences. There seems to be an inordinate amount of fear in some people that is what really drives their convictions. And when you're looking for answers, and I mean, you can tell when people are think you're a something. They assume you are an atheist that's going to do a certain something, and they fall right into that pattern. And you're not that person, and you're not falling into that pattern, but you recognize it because you've seen that pattern 1,000 times. Yeah, it's not unusual. But honestly, what I think is, we're all looking out for ourselves, even the person looking out for the group. In fact, think of that as an evolutionary thing, that this is not a group of individuals, that the group can also function in some ways as an entity, as a single entity in a group if they're working together properly. We know that a crew of people can accomplish much more than one person by themselves, or those same individuals coming at it not working together, all doing their own thing. So we just know that would have been an evolutionary process. So the group is that way, and in that mass, everybody is like taking care of what's right there. Everybody look out for each other and ourselves right now. We're back there now looking out for the whole group because we need that group to survive. But these are elements that are here to help the group survive differently. Okay, so in my own mind, what I see having happened from then until now is that, it started out very functional, and that was the right way for things to work. It is selfishness across the board. Everybody's looking out for themselves and then looking out for the immediate other people. I've seen women that I've seen grandmothers want more kids. Other ones that are like, oh, he's off there. You can see that there's different kind of brain types. There's baby producing engines and food producing engines and things like that you look at and go, that would be very important in a group, that you can see caregivers in there that would function very well in that capacity. So there's giving and there's taking, but everybody's, at the end of the day, when it comes right down to it and the line's after you, you're going to fear and run. We're going to take our kids and go. The person on the outside that's looking out for the whole group, they're just as selfish. They just understand that it is the entire group that is their survival and not just them individually. So there's a scope of awareness and something that is just naturally in place, that there's nothing that can be done about it but to understand it. Check this out. How science are you wanting to go with this stuff? In the universe, we know that energy is all that there is. Even matter is temporarily existing as matter, but is energy in a different form at that point in time. But that matter doesn't make energy. Energy makes matter. Energy is the baseline for what is physical. That's foundational. In our life, that continues. The final manifestation of what happens is the result of a deeper underlying energy that is driving it. If we want to interrupt things, we have to know that. We can't just look at what's happening and keep going, I hate this. You have to go, where is this coming from inside here? How do I extract myself from this repetitive experience? That's why they teach the cause and effect and the cycles. In the simplest form, we are currently matter existing from an energy base. However, along the way, we develop a brain, intelligence, and the capacity to store things electrochemically, which function in that cosmos to cause our life to flow along the manner in which our emotional storage is put away. Not just the stuff we admit to, but this is where it becomes personal. You have to think about it on your own. The stuff you got put away in that dark place you don't want to deal with. that the only way to change the effect is to go look at the cause. And that what we're doing when we're looking at the cause and only seeing the cause and judging life based on the cause is we are a part of whatever that is, without understanding that there's something motivating it that we've just added to. We are now making whatever that motivational drive is stronger by judging it and adding into it. That's what we want to separate from. I went off the rails there, didn't I? The people in the big group, the religious and whatnot, that want you to understand that this is real and that these are factual and that this is really happening. You just step back from a big picture and go, oh my God, I wish they could see. And they look at you like you're blind. Meanwhile, you're open to whatever you can see, and they're open to what they believe and they've been told and can't show you. It's broke. We're disconnected. You're very sensitive to the group and to the surroundings, and you see things and you can warn them. That's what we're there for. But now we're stuck here in a different. Now we're stuck with these personalities and can't do anything with them. You can no longer warn the group, or the group will just tell you, shove it, it's nothing, you know. You would think that we would understand certain things, but I think as long as we deny our roots and that we are an evolutionary creature in this system, we're not going to see what we're really doing. We're looking completely because of fear, which we better have fear. Everybody needs fear. You wouldn't survive. Lion comes up to eat you and you just stand there watching it going, how curious. It's probably going to eat me. I don't care. Now, you got to have fear. So we do. Fear is very built in, but we don't manage the fear. We don't manage it properly, and then we feed it with, take a kid at birth and say, guess what? It's not your fault, but you're going to go to hell and live forever in hell unless you do this. You're wiring a brain with that core right there. And for me, to be honest, that's it's a very pivotal point for me, because that whole story right there, and my brother and I were close. It was an abusive home. Yeah, we cried together, hugging each other in the closet, sitting on the linoleum floor in the closet after we were welted from top to bottom, trying to cool off on the linoleum, hiding and sobbing. And when I cut him down, I found him. It was tragic. I tried to give him mouth-to-mouth. He threw up. I'm a 9-year-old kid. I don't know what to do. This is incredibly impacting. He wanted to leave the abuse and go to heaven. So he hung himself. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm not going to be okay with that ever. Even if I'm an old man now. It doesn't go away. All right. Well, that's it for this video. I wanted to say that. There's something deeper in here. And the religious stuff is it's hurting us. I wish people could see it. But people are so fearful. They want theirs to be right and they want to hurt others. They're doing the tribal thing while you're going, oh my God. We cannot interrupt this process, and we're ready. It's getting so big. It's going to be bad. Maybe sometimes you tell people, don't look for the truth. It doesn't feel good. You don't want to see it. People can. There are people that can, and there are people that can't, and there are people that deny it. And we're getting bigger, and the planet is not. The resources are not. We're modifying things. There's a point where you go, hey, this is not infinitely sustainable. We got issues. But that has to be a more global idea, not so localized. Everybody wants to live, and everybody wants to keep having kids. And everybody wants to be right. And that's built in. Love one another. See you in the next video.